We'd like to think that after you've gotten rid of your narcissist, that the Wicked Witch of the West is dead. But I got news for you. She's got sisters and brothers, and you're going to encounter them and run into them in your everyday life. Is after you've gotten rid of that narcissist or distance yourself as far as possible from the main narcissist in your life, you're going to encounter other ones elsewhere, whether it's work or just out in public somewhere. They'll just keep coming back. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I recently, in the past month, had to shield myself against two of them. And it takes practice to get to the point where you can just recognize the signs and be like, that's a narcissist right there. And that takes a whole nother set of practice to keep your distance. I'd say the best strategy, if you haven't built up a good way to nicely distance yourself without being the bad person yourself, just to get rid of them. It's the safest thing. So the first narcissist I got rid of was an old friend that I tried to reconnect with, moving back into this area. And I had met her before I even knew what a narcissist was. And it had been a few years since I had talked to her, and I didn't remember her personality very well. And she was doing horrible things, like wasn't being very respectful. And when I kind of brought up, hey, I wasn't cool with you doing that the other day, she tried turning it back onto me, like that was your fault, it was unintentional, and it's all in your head. And this was all through text, and I forgot to respond. I didn't forget to respond. An hour had passed, and I hadn't responded yet because I was working, and she started texting me back, like, really? Like, you're not going to respond? Like, it was really weird. It felt like it was the overbearing boyfriend or something, just the way she was acting like that. I said, it's not wrong because she told me I was wrong for expressing myself. So I told her, no, it's not wrong. Just letting you know how I felt about that situation. And she basically said, oh, it was all in my head. So, and I never responded. And thank goodness she hasn't responded back. Hopefully that is done. I just started a new job, and the person I was training with, her narcissism was a little more obvious. She loved attention. She had no problem using other people for things. She was getting rides from a bunch of random people and making it seem like it was their responsibility. They told us where I work, like, that we could take some food and from the kitchen, and she was taking loaves and loaves of bread, which on your first day, that's kind of odd that you're just like taking like more than she can carry of the food. It wasn't like there was a ton there to begin with, so I just felt like she was overstepping her boundaries. The way she was talking about her relationships, she made it sound like she was married a third time, and she was ready to get rid of him, and she was in a relationship with someone else, and she didn't have a car at the time. So she told me, when she gets her own car, she's going to get rid of him. And I was just like, okay, well, we're staying away from you. And so what I did to keep my distance was she asked me for a ride at one point, and I didn't want to be rude because I still had to work with her for at least 2 weeks before we started our actual job, which we wouldn't be working together. And I wanted to make things as smooth as possible, and I also didn't want her to manipulate things and come after me. What I did was, I told her, I'm willing to take you anywhere that's in a 5-minute driving distance, and as long as it's on my way home. And when she realized that I wasn't willing to overly throw myself out for her, she found another person to give her a ride. And since then, she kind of kept her distance. She kept kind of throwing little comments at me. She was a bit bigger, and she told me that I looked like I was starving myself, just like as an insult to make me feel bad that I'm in shape or or whatever. And I mean, it didn't affect me or anything, but just so you could see her little tactics and have a good example. If you don't know how to nicely distance yourself like that or recognize it, it's just best to, if you recognize it and think it, just to say no and go in the opposite direction. It takes a lot of practice to identify these individuals because they come in all varieties. You have your covert, your overt, the male or female, and then you have different levels of narcissism. So some are going to be more extreme than others and how they express it. And if you just make a different combination between those right there, like that's quite a variety. So it takes some practice to learn their different tactics and everything. So just let me know what you think down in the comments, whether this video was helpful or not, and like, subscribe, and we'll see you again next time.